I may never forget the smell of Guangzhou, the humidity and heat that permeated the buildings wrapped in various plants, and the slight coolness that could only be obtained with huge and powerful blowers. There were also the busy people shuttling through the narrow streets, and the sugar water stalls of the elderly that had been frozen in time. The smell of Guangzhou flows between boiling and calm. When I came to Guangzhou again after more than a decade, the smell was a little lighter. Has Guangzhou changed? When I was young, everyone knew that if you wanted to buy clothes, you had to go to Guangzhou. Whoever went to Guangzhou would definitely bring back a few pieces of clothes. The first time I went to Guangzhou, I looked down from the train entering the station and saw the endless and crowded clothing market. It was a lively scene that could not be seen anywhere else in the country at that time. But if you are not in the trade, this 1,000-year-old trade center is actually only one side of Guangzhou. Why is Guangzhou so important? Because Guangzhou was once the spiritual center of the entire South.
冇錯啦，我哋一齊回顧下呢個啟航嘅精彩畫面嚇。
睇睇。
I don't know how many old Guangzhou people still miss the past of Guangzhou, just like I prefer the way it was before the Beijing Olympics. I believe that many people also think that the flavor of Guangzhou has slowly disappeared since 2010.
嗱，我哋見到咧排喺前面嗰個咧就係南海神號，佢後邊跟住有45艘呢個彩船，就今晚咧其實就喺呢個芳村音樂廣場嗰度出發嘅。
Today's Guangzhou is no longer the trade center of the prosperous era of shipping, nor is it the pioneer of the era of opening up. Now Guangzhou has all the configurations of a first-tier city, dense high-rise buildings, noisy crowds, and congested roads. If you go out at night, you can also find many restaurants and bars. There is actually no shortage of the city atmosphere. But now Guangzhou is like a very serious southern city. Those unfettered freedoms and those colors that keep people awake at night may have slowly disappeared. So, has Guangzhou become better or worse? I can only tell you that I don't have an answer.
喺短短嘅時間咧，可以將自己最精彩、最繁華嘅一面咧展現俾世人睇。所以咧，廣州人敢為天下先，而且呢種先咧係速度之先啊嚇！所以咧真係好自豪啊！
I am not that familiar with Guangzhou. I used to stay in Guangzhou for a short time. So, although many Guangzhou people say that Guangzhou has changed a lot compared to the past, with the Pearl River New Town, the new Huangpu district, a bigger airport and more subways, in my eyes, the old streets and houses in Guangzhou have not undergone earth-shaking changes like other cities that are accelerating. They even seem to be ignored from the outside. In Xiguan, those houses that are so old that they can't be older are still kept as they are. It is hard to say whether they can't be demolished or can't be demolished, but such an old city may be the most charming place in Guangzhou now or many years later. The way of life of the people here may not have changed much in the past few decades, and this may be preserved forever, 100 or 200 years later. Therefore, when people come to Guangzhou, they are willing to come to Xiguan to find the taste of old Guangzhou. It's just that some places do look too shabby, and Guangzhou people seem to be a little absent-minded about such shabbiness. When the old streets of Chengdu and Hangzhou have become the most prosperous attractions in the country, the old streets of Shangxiaju were like this 20 years ago, or even 50 years ago, and now they are just left like this, and it doesn't matter whether there are people or not. I was walking in an old community in Tianhe district, and the feeling of shabbiness was a bit shocking. There are many old communities in Chongqing, Chengdu, Hangzhou, and Shanghai, but you can only see this kind of scene in Guangzhou. Of course, you can never get around the ubiquitous urban villages, which are the lifestyle and living environment of the lowest class of people in Guangzhou. and also show the most tolerant side of Guangzhou people. And if you understand that Guangzhou people have a very pragmatic attitude towards life, you will not feel any disobedience when visiting these urban villages in Guangzhou. Places like Sherpai village have not only become an unshakable standard of Guangzhou city, but have even become a feature. Sometimes I think that decades or even 100 years later, when we enter the cyberpunk era, Sherpai village will probably become the living scene of the most ordinary people. The rich have long bid farewell to traffic jams and chaos, and monopolized the low-altitude economy, while the workers live in high-tech urban villages. Okay, I'm kidding, no associations allowed. The pace of Guangzhou now is more reflected in these electric bicycles running rampant. Although this is not just a problem in Guangzhou, after I have traveled to so many cities, there are very few cities that can manage this well. The Sichuan and Chongqing regions and the Jiangsu, Zhejiang and Shanghai regions are slightly better. It seems that this phenomenon is very serious in Guangzhou and Guangdong. I drove from Beijing to Guangdong. I thought I had adapted to the road conditions where electric bicycles were running rampant, but I think the chaos of electric bicycles in Guangdong has reached a completely new level. Driving in Guangdong often makes me feel that cars are the supporting roles on the road, and this road is prepared for electric bicycles. Running a red light is almost the most minor violation of the law. Some even rush towards you in the opposite direction, and you have to let them pass. To be honest, I can now understand why Guangdong banned motorcycles many years ago, but the old problems are gone, and new problems have come again. But I still think that it cannot be banned out of hand. It can only be a problem of management ability. Although Guangzhou looks busy, with traffic jams everywhere, crowded subways, and electric chickens everywhere, it is indeed the slowest pace among the first-tier cities. Guangzhou has a way to slow you down. This is probably why many people say that Guangzhou needs more life. Guangzhou's morning tea is not breakfast, but a ritual of life that lasts from early morning to afternoon. In the tea house, the old Guangzhou people chat from morning to noon, and in this leisurely time, they take care of all kinds of business matters. The waiter pushes the dim sum cart through, and the moment the steamer is opened, the sweetness of the shrimp dumplings mixed with the mellow fragrance of pu'er wafts out. Every time I come to Guangzhou, I must have morning tea. It's not that I love morning tea, but I also like to enjoy the leisure of chatting here. Standing under the banyan tree on Shamian Island, the wind from the Pearl River lazily brushes across my face, and the shadows of old European-style buildings are cast obliquely on the stone road. The most important function of Shamian Island is to stretch time. On this small island, you can't see the busy figures in Guangzhou city or hear the noisy noise. Even those who sing and sing on the island are not doing it to spread anxiety on short video platforms, but really enjoy this slow time.
失敗的那用他即管衰敗，暴雨苦力爭吵斷瀟灑。深夜裏將一起幻影的他，經收不應佢嘴巴，周瑜也今次終好收嘅吧，無於悲青會自強自家。盡領這封心愛他，心裏只得一個他，他偏卻太和氣，機遇也不得笑話，琴聲當聲，為何不得到他？心裏沉默下假真情是真事實也講得話，今晚的一起看好他，假如有決定將愛的愛下，無於悲傷保持你情話。
Yueshio Park is like a huge green sponge, absorbing the noise of the city. In the early morning, dancing uncles and aunts are intoxicated by the cool breeze and the shade of the trees. Just as People's Park is the heart of Chengdu, Yueshio Park is the heart of Guangzhou. It is not only home to Zhenhai Tower, Guangzhou Museum, Zhongshan Memorial and 5 Rams stone statue, which are the marks that prove Guangzhou's history. It is really the city symbol and spiritual landmark of Guangzhou. Luhua Lake Park lies quietly in the depths of Guangzhou's prosperity. There is no steel forest in Zhejiang New Town, nor the hustle and bustle of Shangxiajie, but it has a kind of tranquility that transcends the city. The drizzle does not affect the people who come here for morning exercises at all. The density of egrets living on this egret island seems to have exceeded the density of people living in Sherpai village. Looking at these egrets, I actually forgot the time and felt that I could look at them all day. As long as you need, there are such places that can slow people down everywhere in Guangzhou, so don't worry about Guangzhou making you lost. You can find a bench here and let your soul find your body. Why do I live in Guangzhou? Why do I come to Guangzhou? I think nightlife must be an important reason. Anyway, the reason why I left Beijing is because in the south, life feels like it is extended at night. The Sacré-Cœur is still crowded with people pretending to be in Paris even after God has gone off work. Beijing Road is still crowded at night, and the roadside dessert shops are full of people. Being able to sit on the roadside and eat is the most pleasant enjoyment at night. This is true in Chengdu, Shanghai, Osaka, and even more so in Guangzhou. Of course, Beijing is an exception. At night, I think there may be no temple in the country that can compare with the big Buddha temple on Beijing Road. It is not only free, but also open at night. I have never seen such a lively scene in Lama Temple before. Anyway, I squeezed into the crowd to enter this temple. I never thought that there is an option to visit temples in Guangzhou's nightlife. Don't look at this temple with fireworks and crowds. I sat in it for a while and enjoyed great silence. It was very strange. I thought about it. Maybe when I am surrounded by many desires, I can seem a little self-sufficient. This temple is really wonderful. Guangzhou's nightlife must be more than this. But as I said before, the nights in old Guangzhou are getting clearer and clearer, but also seem a little boring. On the contrary, the nights in Sichuan and Chongqing are more restless and full of hormones. The slowness of Guangzhou is the steam rising from the morning tea table, the half-finished book on the Yueshio mountainside, the stories that have not yet ended in the lemon tea stall at 2 o'clock in the morning, just like the bowl of coconut bamboo chicken soup that has been stewed for 4 hours. When the heat is right, the taste will naturally be right. You suddenly understand that the slowness of Guangzhou is not stagnation, but a kind of calmness in the bones. On the sightseeing bus in Guangzhou, I was ready to take pictures of the scenery of Guangzhou comfortably in the first row, and then an old grandfather in his 70s sitting next to me started chatting with me. At first, he was just curious about my profession. While chatting, he acted as a free tour guide for me, introducing the attractions along the way.
你照这几个字。
回头我过来照。
北京路文化旅游区。
啊，一会儿他走了我就照这儿。
我走开。
没事。
你站在这里吗？
没事，我拍得到，不用。这个早茶是吧？
有早都有的。这个。
As the conversation went on, the topic gradually became outrageous. He also talked about his private past with a girlfriend in Sichuan, and then taught me how to find a girlfriend in Guangzhou. At this time, the conversation had entered the state of old friends talking nonsense. At first, I thought only the uncles in Guangzhou liked to chat. After a while, a young mother with a child sitting next to him also joined in. Later, a Guangzhou girl who was studying in Lake Baikal, Russia, came and chatted with her. Is there a university in Lake Baikal? In the end, this 107 sightseeing bus trip became a social trip, just like the feeling of being in the slow green sleeper car many years ago. But the journey of the bus was short, and the friendly conversation came to an abrupt end, which was a bit regrettable. I don't know many people from Guangzhou, but after traveling to so many places, it is rare to have such a natural communication experience with Guangzhou people. Regarding Guangzhou people, I think I must talk about Cantonese. I can't speak Cantonese, but Cantonese culture has indeed influenced the lives of almost 1 or 2 generations in the past few decades. I still can't accurately describe what it feels like to speak Cantonese. When I came to Guangzhou in the past, the clerks in the convenience stores spoke Cantonese by default. Now Cantonese has slowly faded into traditional social places where only Guangzhou locals speak. In fact, this is not just the current situation of Cantonese. China's history has never experienced such a large-scale population migration and regional immigration. The local culture is gradually integrated into the unified culture. I think the weakening of dialects is inevitable. I just think that preserving local culture must be very important. I go to any city now, the buildings are the same, the width of the road is the same, the shopping malls are the same, the food is the same, the clothes are the same, and it is really convenient. Just like McDonald's around the world are almost the same, you can rest assured to eat the same unpalatable burgers and fries. But a city has become meaningless. Cantonese used to have a strong influence because of Hong Kong, but now it is gradually weakening as Hong Kong's glory fades away. Guangzhou is actually the real heart of Cantonese. I hope to see more Cantonese culture being carried forward by local people. You see how proud Shanghainese people are of speaking Shanghainese, even if it makes you feel that they are infinitely pretentious. But that is the flavor of Shanghainese. Chengdu people speak Sichuan dialect with a kind of cynical ridicule. Beijing people can always use Beijing dialect to make sarcastic remarks about the situation in the universe. So what is the flavor of Cantonese? In the end, it was much harder to make this video about Guangzhou than I thought. It was hard for me to define what kind of city Guangzhou is. From a vertical perspective, Guangzhou is almost the most important city in southern China, both economically and culturally. Even though it has never been called an ancient city, it has been China's most important trade center since the unification of China and a window for the empire to the outside world. From a horizontal perspective, Guangzhou's influence is by no means limited to the Pearl River Delta, Guangdong, or even China. It is the spiritual home of many overseas Chinese. How can I use this or dozens of episodes to talk about how important Guangzhou is? I only realized it when I was making this video. Now all the topics about Guangzhou on self-media are about decline. To be fair, Guangzhou is indeed a bit behind other first-tier cities in terms of urban construction and economic indicators. But what I care more about is not whether Guangzhou's GDP has been surpassed by anyone. That is not the foundation of a city. The foundation of Guangzhou is whether the flavor of Guangzhou is still there. Compared with the leisure of Chengdu, the petty bourgeoisie of Shanghai, and the exquisiteness of Hangzhou, the flavor of Guangzhou in my understanding is the atmosphere of freedom and relaxation. There is no rich or poor here. No matter whether your account is full or not, you can enjoy your own leisure on a hot night. I don't know if my description is accurate, or if there are old Guangzhou people in the comment area who can help me explain it. In short, Guangzhou is Guangzhou. It is a paradise buried in the hearts of the bottom workers. It is a calmness that hides a lot of money but never shows off. It is a leisurely leisure hidden in the busy city. And it is all-encompassing after the leisure time flows along the Pearl River.